Hello, everyone, and welcome to virtual Raise a Glass to benefit the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Hi, my name is John Cadillac Seville from iHeartRadio, and I've been a part of the Connecticut chapter, can you believe it, for 15 years. I heard about this organization from my good friend, I love her, Melanie DiNicola. She has a daughter who has cystic fibrosis, and when she came to me and said, hey, Cadillac, can you help me with the fundraising event? I said, absolutely. I'm there anytime you need me, Mel. And I'm thrilled to host the first ever virtual Raise a Glass in honor of Clark Grady. And it's my pleasure to be here tonight to celebrate the 9th annual Raise a Glass fundraiser. Now, while we can't be here together in person tonight, we thank you for joining us virtually for this very, very special evening and invite you to raise a glass from the comfort of your own home. And to start off the evening, please welcome Bobby Wegeson, all the way from Tennessee, as he mixes a maple old fashioned.
And thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to quickly walk through one of my favorite fall drinks, which hopefully you can enjoy this evening, and if not, hopefully very soon. I picked to do a maple old fashioned for tonight for a couple reasons. First, no one's ever going to confuse me for a mixologist. Making complicated, fancy cocktails is not exactly my thing, but more importantly than that, it's super tasty while being very easy to make. I'm also a really big whiskey fan, and I feel like this cocktail really does a great job of accentuating a lot of the really wonderful characteristics and flavors that are already in bourbon. So for some of you that might not be familiar, an old fashioned is one of the oldest cocktails out there. In the early 1800s, there was actually a drink just called a cocktail. It truly was the original cocktail. And it was defined as a mix of spirits, sugar, water, and bitters. Over the years, what we define as a cocktail has obviously changed, so the name had to adjust, but the original drink was renamed the Old Fashioned. Typically speaking, an Old Fashioned is made with bourbon or rye whiskey, sugar, potentially some water, and bitters. But like I said, tonight we're going to substitute some maple syrup in for the sugar, or utilize that as our sugar base. Bourbon has quite a bit of natural sweetness, so you don't need to overload it with anything. But again, that maple syrup just brings out some of those caramel flavors, the vanilla flavors, some of the sweetness, and then it's balanced out with the bitters and the dilution. So with that said, super simple to make, and we can kind of get started. For those that weren't already with us, the ingredients on this are going to be the whiskey, so either bourbon or rye traditionally, bitters, maple syrup, an orange, and then if you want a maraschino cherry to add onto the side. So with that said, we'll get started. The first step is, I've already peeled it or gotten some orange peel, but you'll just kind of peel off with either a knife or a vegetable peeler, a slice of orange. You'll want to rub the rim of your glass with that, kind of get the oils and flavor kind of on the rim, and then you'll squeeze it, and hopefully you have just enough pulp and zest to get into the bottom of the cup, start getting that acid. Now, next we're going to be adding the bourbon and the bitters and maple syrup. And while for this cocktail, it's pretty simple, kind of an insider thing. When you're making a drink, typically you're going to be wanting to start with your cheapest ingredients. That way, if you were to screw it up, you're not wasting the good stuff. Again, with this cocktail, pretty easy. So we're going to start with 1/2 ounce of maple syrup. I highly suggest using a high quality maple syrup. The one I'm using was actually aged in some bourbon barrels. So you definitely want to avoid like anything with sugar free, because then you're not going to get the characteristics you're wanting out of this. And so 1/2 ounce. Now, if mine isn't too thick of a maple syrup, if it is a little thicker, you might want to use this time to dilute it with a little bit of water to just help. And then we're looking at 2 ounces of bourbon. You're going to want to do this in a glass that you don't have the ice in just yet. 2 2 ounces. At this point, it should have this kind of oily looking texture to it. If it doesn't, you probably want to add a little bit of water and a little bit more maple syrup. And then from there, just a couple dashes of bitters, which if you haven't used bitters before, these are, they're almost like salt to a bartender. They're something that it's hard to define exactly the flavor they're adding, but at the same time, a cocktail that doesn't have them, you would notice they're missing. So from there, you'll want to just stir that up a little bit. Get those ingredients mixed. And then at this point, this is when you'll want to add the ice. And from here, a big key to this, because at this point, the cocktail is pretty much all whiskey. You have a little bit of the maple syrup and a little bit of bitters, but it's all whiskey. So the dilution is going to be very important. So you're looking at about 20 seconds of stirring, 20 to 30 seconds to really get it mixed and a combined cocktail. A little bit more to go from there. And at that point, you're pretty much completed. I tend to like to add a Luxardo Maraschino cherry, really complete the drink. If you haven't had them before, they're a little bit of a splurge, but they are amazing. They're a great cocktail cherry, and they're a great addition to the cocktail. But otherwise, that's about it. So cheers. Hopefully everybody is able to enjoy and have a great night.
Thank you so much, Bobby. I hope all of you at home have your glasses filled by now. And without further ado, here's a message brought to you by Dr. Mike Boyle, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
Greetings, and thank you for joining us. While we all find ourselves at a distance, it does not change the fact that the CF community remains close in spirit. Now more than ever, we are so grateful that we can come together to connect, share stories, and celebrate the achievements that you have made possible. You know, the pandemic has changed our lives in dramatic ways, but it has not deterred the foundation from the relentless pursuit of our mission to serve people with CF and their families and eventually cure CF. We are steadfast in our scientific work to advance our Path to a Cure initiative with innovative research efforts. And we continue to work hand in hand with care centers across the country to ensure that people with CF receive the best care possible. As we celebrate all that we've achieved together over these past 65 years, every contribution helps. It helps advance the mission and, most importantly, changes lives. Your generosity during this challenging time will help us stay the course and provide the best support we can to those living with CF. Every one of you, every volunteer, every donor, every sponsor, every CF fighter is critical to our success. Thank you for your continued support. Together we will make CF stand for Cure Found.
Thank you so much, Dr. Boyle. I know I speak on behalf of the Foundation, the Connecticut chapter staff, Raise a Glass Committee, CF community, and all of our supporters when I say that we're honored by your exemplary leadership and we will remain committed to a cure. Now please join me as we highlight some of the Foundation's updates. For the past 65 years, the CF Foundation has remained steadfast in its mission to find a cure for those living with cystic fibrosis. Together, we made remarkable progress, but the journey doesn't end here. We still have so much more work to do. And now, here's a message from Mike and Bria Pinette, co-chairs of Raise a Glass.
Thank you so much, John. We are Mike and Bria Pinette. Together, we have co-chaired the Raise a Glass event since 2017 and are grateful to have been involved since its inception in 2011.
Bria and I got involved with CF shortly after Clark was born in 2010. We knew we had to help our friends raise money to put an end to this disease. Once we started, we became very passionate about finding a cure for Clark and all others battling CF.
Although the event looks a little different this year, we are so thrilled to be here with you tonight, celebrating virtually.
We would like to give a special thank you to our sponsors who continue to support the CF Foundation's life-saving mission. Because of you, we have made tremendous progress throughout the years, and in 2019, Raise a Glass surpassed the $1 million mark.
Please join us in raising your glasses to our gold sponsor, Lois Grady, and to all of our other sponsors, who you will now see on the screen. Cheers.
Cheers.
Wow, amazing. Thank you, Mike and Bria, and a big time thank you to each sponsor for your continued support. Now, I'd also like to raise my glass to the rest of the committee working so hard. Event Chair Jen Grady, Kristen Quirk, Lori D'Annunzio, Joanne Gagney, Curtis Jakes, Ian Lappin, Christine and Paul Millette, Louise O'Donnell, Olivia Quick, and Danielle Trencali. You're all proof that it truly does take a village. And now with a special message, I'm honored to introduce to you Jen Grady, along with her son, and our CF hero, Clark Grady.
Thanks so much, John. My name is Jen Grady, and I'm the proud mom of Clark.
Hi.
I know everyone has been affected tremendously by this past year. Large and small, since March 13th, no one's life has been untouched. But after watching Clark, someone with cystic fibrosis, go through the last 8 months, I can say I've never felt the impact of this disease in quite the same way. As many people have started to go back to work, as schools have slowly reopened, as teams have gotten together to play some sports, and friends and family gather, Clark has remained isolated. He has needed to still stay in a bubble in order to be safe, and he has missed out. People with CF are wondering, when will my life become a little more normal? And watch as the world progresses. We have done so much work together. I am so grateful for all your generosity. But now more than ever, we need to forge ahead. I raise my glass to all of you tonight, to our sponsors and to the guests that come every year to Raise a Glass. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. But I also raise a glass to the future. There is so much to be done, and I pray that you will stick with us until we can all join together next year and say that we will find a way for CF to stand for Cure Found. Cheers. Thank you. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Jen and Clark, for sharing your story with us this evening. Now, to those of you watching at home, thank you so much for joining the virtual Raise a Glass event. It's been my pleasure to be here with you once again tonight. And while these times continue to be really challenging, we still need you now more than ever. Now remember, you can make a 100% tax-deductible donation this evening by visiting events.cff.org/raiseaglass, and you can feel great about helping the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation get closer to a cure. And as we leave you this evening, please enjoy a compilation of videos from the last several years. They're pretty amazing. Created by our event chair, devoted mother and friend, Jen Grady. And we look forward to serving you and seeing you in the future. But for right now, join me in a final toast to the progress that has been made and all we have yet to accomplish. I'm raising a glass right now to all of you, the viewers. Thank you. Now stay safe and remember, we are in this together until it's done.